have inputs from you as well, and we'll have a question answer round in which you can ask the questions related to this topic. This is basically, I'll be talking about diffusion models, and these diffusion models are actually a part of Gen AI, generative AI. So, as what Amol sir has already mentioned in my introduction, my areas of research includes AI, but actually it is machine learning and natural language processing, because natural language processing is my trust area in which me and my PhD scholars do work. Two of my PhD scholars have completed their PhD, and seven are in the pipeline. And most of them are working on the fields of machine learning and NLP. So I'll take you from the very beginning, that is what is Gen AI, and then I'll take you through what is diffusion models, why we use it, and what is the importance of it. So you must have seen this diagram many number of times, but you must have seen it only till here. You must not have seen generative AI and LLM also being a part of this complete diagram. So AI, machine learning, neural networks, deep learning, generative AI, and LLM. And and then you have various applications. Like you can say this is NLP, then using NLP as well. This is robotics, etc. etc. So there are various applications which uses these technologies, AI, ML, neural networks, etc., etc., and along with others. Like in NLP uses statistical methods, also statistical technologies, also apart from this part, this stack. Okay, so let's take one by one, and I'm sure most of you must have already heard these words and must have been working on these fields. AI suggests that I want my we are naturally intelligent, and if I want my machine to behave in a similar manner as I do, then I will have to induce intelligence into the machine artificially, because machines are not naturally intelligent as we are. So if I want my machine to behave in a similar manner as I do, I will have to induce intelligence into it, and that is known as artificial intelligence. Now, this actually forms the umbrella wherein all the rest of the technologies come inside artificial intelligence. The second is machine learning. Machine learning says कि the humans are learning every day, every second, every minute we learn. When we say learn, it's not the bookish knowledge that we learn, like you are attending this workshop and you are studying some new topics. So it's not the bookish knowledge. When we say learn, it also talks about the experiences. We learn from our past experiences. So like suppose if you want to go to civil lines in Nagpur and you don't know the path, so what you'll do is you'll just go to Google Maps and check what is a path from your place to civil lines, correct? Now next day if you have to go to the same place, you don't have to check for the maps because you already know the path, correct? So you have learned. Similarly, I want my machine also to learn from the past experiences. So there are different ways to do it. There are different algorithms that help you to learn from the past experiences, and that is machine learning. Until and unless we learn, we do not make our system very robust, because then it would be simple information retrieval that we have been talking about 20 years back. 20 years back, when we used to talk about information retrieval, it was actually any information which already existed in the system. If the information is not there, it will simply say we don't know. If the information is there, then it will retrieve the information and give it to you. Correct? But machine learning says कि not only the information, but we are talking about the knowledge. So data, information, and knowledge. Data is raw data. If I say 20 apples, this is raw data. Information is I add some more details to the data. So I say I ate an apple today. This is information. And what is knowledge? Knowledge is combination of your facts with the stored facts. Now the fact that has been stored says कि an apple a day keeps doctors away. And since you are eating an apple a day, so there are very few chances of you getting ill. This is knowledge. So when we talk about machine learning, we are talking actually about the knowledge, not about the data or information. Okay, we are talking about the knowledge part, so that needs to be interpreted, retrieved, apprehended, so that understood, so that you can come up with something new which was not already there in the database. Correct? Neural networks. Now, what are neural networks? When we say that I want to replicate the human being, I want my system to behave exactly as humans do. Now, humans have neural network here. They have neurons on the top, a lot of neurons. Now, these neurons are are responsible for any function that you do. Memory, if you want to perform any action, if suppose I want to put my hand like this, so this also comes from the brain. And if brain is the powerhouse and I want my machine to behave as humans, I'll have to replicate the powerhouse also. And there comes the concept of neural networks, that what how whatever is there inside a brain, we model it and we get the neural networks. And when we are doing it with the help of neural networks, the learning is deep. What is the meaning of deep? That is, it is more enhanced, more accurate, and more efficient and effective. Correct? Because it involves a lot of data set, and then you are able to perform the actions on the data set with the help of deep learning models. Correct? Then we come with the concept of generative AI. So, as I mentioned, till now, what we are doing is we are retrieving only the information which is already present in the data set, only the information which is present in the data set. What if the information is not there and I want that information? So just generative AI will actually generate the images and videos for you, or text. So it generates the text, image, and the video. Correct? So it generates the data for you. It's not there in the system, but it actually generates it for you so that you can work on that data set. And large language models is another subset of Gen AI, which basically talks about text, only text. And this is, you can say, inside the bigger umbrella of NLP, natural language processing. So NLP has the bigger umbrella, and then there is LLM, large language models, which is a part of generative AI. I'm sure everybody must have used ChatGPT. So ChatGPT is nothing but a LLM, a large language model, which is able to generate the text. Whatever you say, you are able to generate the text. And this generation is dependent on something which is known as prompt. So let me show you ChatGPT. I open the ChatGPT and I say, write a letter to the manager seeking for a leave on grounds of bad health. So what is this? This is basically a application. I would say not a letter, like an application. And this is nothing but the prompt. A lot of things depend upon this prompt. How you are writing the prompt, and accordingly you will get the letter. Now, this has not copy pasted it from somewhere. It has actually generated it. Taken. So how it starts? I am writing to formally request leave from work due to health reasons. I have been feeling unwell and my doctor has advised me to take some time off to recover fully. Correct? Now I just change this a little bit. Write a letter to friend asking for leave due to bad health. See? Now, when I was writing the letter to the manager, it was simply I am writing to formally request leave from work due to health reasons. But when I'm writing it to my friend, finds you in good health and high spirits, I'm writing to tell you no that I am not keeping well lately and have been advised to take some rest. So this line is being added only because I am writing it to a friend. If I would not have been writing it to a friend, this line would not have been there. So the data is being generated. Now, suppose if I just copy paste this again, I am just copy pasting it again. If you will see, the two applications are different. See, I would like to request leave starting from this. During this period, I will ensure that all urgent tasks. During my absence, I will ensure all the pending tasks. Earlier, it mentioned urgent tasks. Now it is mentioning pending tasks are either completed beforehand or delegated appropriately. So this sentence was not there earlier. I have simply copy pasted the prompt, but still I am not getting the same answer. This is the beauty of generative AI because it is generating the data on the basis of the prompt, but it is doing it on the fly. It is not copy pasting it from somewhere, it is not taking it from somewhere, but it is generating it on the go. Correct? So, generative AI and large language models. So, what is the difference between all these three is in the case of ML, we have the structured inputs and we may have the binary or the numerical output. So, you must have already learned there are many types of machine learning algorithms, classification algorithms, clustering algorithms, and so on, regression, classification, etc. etc. But the parameters that what we are discussing here is somewhere around 1000. But when the parameters we are talking about in the case of deep learning, the training data has increased to many fold. Here we are talking about 1K to 100K, and this we are talking about 100K to pre few million. So the training data has increased to many fold, and also the number of parameters has increased to a great extent. Okay, so we are using deep learning for a lot of computer vision and image processing techniques, image processing applications. Like suppose if I say object detection in images, language translation, language modeling, etc., etc. So we are using deep learning in those cases in which the data has increased to more than 100K and the parameters are also close to 1 million. But what happens in the case of generative AI? Now, generative AI is taking even longer sentences as compared to ML and DL. It is writing essays, codes, and emails. It is creating the images and the videos. And this generative AI model is actually pre-trained on billions and billions of words. So there are lots of generative AI models, and every day you are getting a new model, which is being trained on a different set of data, and which is increasing every day by day. And we can fine tune it for a particular application. So the model that you are getting is fine tuned, is pre-trained on some data set, and then you can fine tune it for your application data. ठीक है ना? So GPT 3.5, 4, Palm, L Llama, these are all different types of large language models which you can use. We would also talk about the diffusion models, that what are diffusion models and why do we use it and how do we use it. So there were certain disadvantages with deep learning models which we had to rectify in the upcoming models. Now in the case of neural networks, what happens, what is word to vec is when we are trying to analyze the text, we need to convert this text into numbers because computer does not understand text. Computer only understand numbers. So this entire data needs to be converted into numbers, and word to vec is one such algorithm or one such technique to convert the words to vectors. And in this case what happens is we give a vector in a multi-dimensional space. Now this is beyond the imagination, in fact. So you just consider there is a multi-dimensional space and we are giving a vector to each and every word, like this. So suppose if I say mobile is here, so sim would be given a vector which would be very close to mobile because these two are similar to each other. Then, if I talk about mouse, then the mouse would be given a different vector which is not related to mobile or sim because it doesn't have any relation with mobile. So if mobile is here, then mouse would be here. Keyboard can be close to it because there is a relationship between keyboard and mouse. And suppose if I say a glass of water, then it would be absolutely somewhere else. Okay. So we are giving a vector to each and every word in order to convert those text into numbers. Because until and unless we are able to convert the text into numbers, we won't be able to perform any task. Correct? So the neural networks have a layered structure. So there are different layers in the neural network. And in this case, the fine tuning involves the optimization of the loss function. So we try to optimize the loss function and the weights which are given to the new with the neural network layers, and we are stuck only till here. Okay, but if we talk about RNN, RNN is recurrent neural network. So RNN has the disadvantage of vanishing gradient, and secondly, it is serial. It is serial. That means once this is processed, then only the output will come here. It will do the processing and then only the output will come here. It is processed, then only the output will come here. So when we are going for a serializable thing, then the efficiency decreases to a great extent. Okay, so we came up with another model which is known as encoder decoder model, and this was actually given by Ashish Vaswani and his researchers. In fact, I'll show you the paper. Attention is all you need is the paper, and that actually proved to be a breakthrough in the field of LLM and in the field of generative AI. If you see, this has been cited so many number of times because whosoever is working in the fields of Gen AI or is working in the field of LLM has to cite this paper, because this is the point where the transformers were introduced, and the most important part, the attention was introduced. So this is a transformer model which consists of the input layer. This is the input layer and the output layer. The input layer consists of a number of series of multi-head attention layers, normalization layers, feed forward neural network, and the output also consists of all this. And at the last, there is a softmax layer to give you the final output. Input and output embeddings is nothing but that is what I was talking about, the word to vec. So embeddings basically here means converting the text to numbers, vectors. So first you convert the text to numbers, then you give the positional encoding. Why do we need a positional encoding is, like suppose if I say I'm going to the market to buy vegetables, like this. Correct. So in this case, the basic concept of NLP, natural language processing, or LLM, is to understand the sentence. Until and unless you are able to understand the sentence, you cannot apprehend it. Correct. So you should be able to understand the meaning of the sentence. That is what is known as semantics. The semantics of the sentence should be clear. And for the semantics to be clear, I should have the relationship between the different words. Like suppose if I say I went barefoot to the temple. And when I'm saying this, how will you get to know that this bear is BARE and not BEAR? Correct. So you have to have the relationship between bear and foot. So foot can be BARE, not BEAR. Correct. So once you have understood the positional encoding, that is, what is the position of this word in the sentence, what is the relationship of this word with the rest of the words in the sentence, you would be able to understand the meaning of the sentence. Correct. Because if I would have written it like this, the meaning would not have been clear. Because what does this mean? I went barefoot to the temple, and bear here means Balu. So nothing is clear in this case. But if I say barefoot, So there are two things that needs to be have the relationship. First of all, bear and foot, and the second one is bear and temple. Since I am going to the temple, so there are a lot of chances that I am talking about barefoot, nange pair, without wearing any slippers. And the second one is I went to see the bear in the jungle. So in this case, of course, I'm talking about BEAR, and I'm not going barefoot in the jungle, which doesn't make any sense. Okay, so the neighboring words should be taken into consideration to understand the meaning of the sentence, and that is why we have the positional encoding in place. I hope it is audible and visible. Yes. So that is why we have the positional encoding in place to find out the relationship between the different words. And what is multi-head attention is, multi-head attention is actually related to the attention layer. Multi-head attention is basically that I need to concentrate on some parts of the sentence, not the complete sentence. If I try to concentrate on the complete sentence, I may miss out the meaning of the sentence. But if I concentrate on bear and jungle, I can relate the rest of the words to it. This is known as attention mechanism, which was introduced by Ashish Vaswani and his team. Okay, so he actually came up with this concept of attention mechanism, which says apart from the encoder and the decoder stacks, you should also have the attention mechanism, which takes care. So actually, there are three things here: query, key, and value. So we are able to put our attention on some of the words because of these three vectors: query vector, key vector, and the value vector. Correct? So if you want further search, further study on this, you can just go through this paper and understand this paper. And the rest of the things are available on the net to understand the complete thing, the query, queue, and the value. But what I really wanted to show you was key. The multi-head attention mechanism actually is basically giving some attention to some of the words in order to give priority to some of the words to understand the meaning of the sentence. Fair enough? So, in the case of RNN, it is serializable. So, we will not be able to use RNN, but we'll have to use CNN for this in the transformer model. And the encoders and the decoders are very much needs to be used. So, this is the attention model that I was talking about. Pay selective attention, that is, pay attention to only some of the words. Utilize the intermediate states while decoding. So, when you are trying to return back to the original sentence, then you should be able to see that what happened in the middle and what was the middle words, and do the alignment while translating. So sometimes it happens you have got the bear in the jungle, but while translation, like suppose if I say I want to translate this to Hindi, I am going to the market to buy vegetables. So मैं जा रहा हूँ, आई एम गोइंग मार्केट को वेजिटेबल्स या सब्जी लेने. So this is not a correct sentence. So मैं सब्जी लेने मार्केट को जा रहा हूँ. So I'll have to do the I will have to change the order of the words in order to get the correct sentence. And the gender and the grammar may also be wrong. So I have to correct the grammar also. Once we have understood the meaning of the sentence, then we can formulate the output sentence along with the correct grammar and the correct meaning. So the transformer model says I have the embedding thing which converts my sentence into vectors. Then I have the self attention layer which gives attention to only some of the words which are required to understand the meaning of the sentence. And then we do the dot product of that I was talking about, Q, K, V, and so on. That is the details of how the transformer works: query, key, and value vectors. And once it is done, then we come back to the decoder part, in which we have to in which again we have the self attention, and then we do the decoding of it and get a new sentence in a different language. So this is an example of language translation using transformers. And this is the in which we are first embedding the input sentence. Example in this is my friend. She works with IBM. She lives in Gurgaon. She has a son studying in class 11th, etc. etc. So my system should be able to map these she's with Aditi. I hope you're able to see. Yes. So to map all these she's to Aditi, like it becomes there are some 50 sentences, and we did a lot of things in the middle, and at the last I said she. Now this she should be combined with Aditi. This will not be done by RNN because RNN has the disadvantage of vanishing gradient, in which it keeps on forgetting what it processed earlier. So LSTM is able to solve this a little bit, but still we are not able to get a very good results with LSTM also. This is long short-term memory. So long short-term memory is also not able to give you very good results as compared to the transformer models, because transformer models have a very vast memory, which is able to learn the sentences even if it was spoken some 20-30 pages back. The transformer architecture consists of an encoder and a decoder. Encoder takes the input sequence of words and generates a contextualized representation of each word. That is, it is giving you a vector for each and every word. And the decoder gives you the desired output. So, whatever the disadvantages were there with the RNN and LSTM, we are able to solve this in the case of transformers. And this is the same paper which I was talking about. Attention is all you need. Solves the problem of parallelization, which was there with RNN, which was doing it sequentially. So we started using CNNs, which is in parallel. Overcomes the vanishing gradient issue. That is now we don't have that problem of what it learned earlier, what it talked about earlier, and it uses a self attention mechanism. That is, it gives the importance to some of the words which may be required for the processing. Okay. So this is a basic timeline that has been used. In 2014, we used to talk about GANs, that is, for generative adversarial networks. One of my students in 2016 worked on that, but didn't get very good results because it was not so popular as compared to nowadays. And 2017, Ashish Vaswani paper came in, which revolutionized everything. Which said that let's have the attention mechanism on each and every words, which is able to remove the vanishing gradient problem, which is able to remove the serializability, etc., etc. And then we came up with the GP. Anyone can tell me what is the full form for GPT? The full form for GPT? Can anybody tell me the full form for GPT?
Generative pre-trained transformer.
Very good. Generative pre-trained transformers. So GPT is actually dealing with the transformer part. And why do we say generative pre-trained? Generative means because it is a part of the generative AI stack, and it is able to generate the text, images, videos, etc. And then it is pre-trained model because it's not possible to have Like suppose if I try to build the GPT in my system, I need to have billions and billions of parameters, which is again not possible at all. It's not possible to have all those billion parameters in my system and then perform the learning and the training and training the model and etc. So it is talking about the pre-trained models which are already pre-trained on some billions and billions of parameters. You can use that pre-trained model for your own application by fine-tuning some of the layers. Okay. And since then we have come up with the great part GPT, GPT-2, 3, DALI, and DALI 3 is the one which has been recently introduced. So let's try to first experiment a little bit on DALI 3. So just on Google type DALI 3 and you'll get this OpenAI. And try in Chat GPT, and then you can put in a prompt as weird as possible. So this will actually give you an image of what you are thinking of. ठीक है ना? So let me think of a white horse wearing red scarf going on mountains with a boy on his back. Acha, I missed horse, I think. Oh, I missed horse. Let me see what it comes up. Yeah, I missed horse. So there was a woman. See how intelligent it was? Because I said there is a boy on his back. So it related it to it and said that, okay, let's have a woman. Let's have a woman because that makes quite sense. That makes quite sense. That is, a boy can be on the back of a woman with a red scarf on the mountains. So actually, I skipped writing horse, a white horse. And the same thing, if I try to search on Google, I will not get anything. I will not get anything. Sentence whose image we would like to have. Better not use proper nouns because the proper nouns it may not be able to identify. Anyone else? Only Parak ma'am tried it. Anyone? Only one response. Okay, trying. Okay. Okay, I'm waiting. Donkey in pant shirt. That's nice. Okay. Vaibhav sir, the one which you have written must be there on the Google itself. And that's what I said. Please avoid writing the proper nouns because, okay, so the biggest disadvantage with Gen AI and the LLM models is hallucination. What is hallucination is key when you write something whose answer it doesn't know, it takes it to its ego. And what it does is it will not say that he doesn't know. What if will say he will try to formulate and generate a text. That is very, very problematic and very dangerous because he doesn't know about a particular thing, so it will avoid saying he doesn't know about it, but he will try to hallucinate it. With proper nouns, of course, it may say that I don't know about it. But if there are no proper nouns and if there is a simple thing, like suppose if you're talking about the technology and it has not understood it doesn't have much information about the technology, so then it will start hallucinating it. Hallucinating it means it will start imagining it. And when it starts imagining, it will give you all false and weird results. Correct? And in fact, if you try writing a research paper using Chat GPT, you will not get very good results because it will keep on copy pasting, it will keep on paraphrasing the things. Like, suppose if I say, write a research paper on hallucinations in large language models. So it will actually give you the complete research paper. But it will keep on repeating the things. The paragraphs will not be very crisp and clear, but it will keep on repeating what it has to say. It will give you the complete research paper. But if you submit this research paper, this will not have any plagiarism, trust me, because this is something which has been generated. It will not have any plagiarism. But the person who is going to review this paper will definitely get to know that you have used ChatGPT for it because it will repeat itself. Improve training data, post processing and fact checking, model fine tuning, interactive systems, research gaps. Again, it will do the same thing again in research gaps. So, a lot of things would be repeated, and the person who's going to review the paper will get to know that you have used ChatGPT for it because it is generating the text and it is not a foolproof thing to generate the text. So, the next question that comes in is is it going to replace the humans? So, definitely not. Definitely not definitely not because it is because what we can do the systems cannot. We can write a research paper with lots of tables, figures, facts and things which this cannot do it. So definitely it cannot replace the humans for sure. And that is why we talk about ethical AI in which it will not do anything which may end up replacing the humans. So, what exactly the difference between Transformers, GPT-2, and the BERT? The BERT is a very old model related to natural language processing. So, Transformers have both encoders and decoders, which is basically used for language translation and other types of tasks. GPT-2 is actually GPT-2 is actually doing something on the decoder part, so we can get rid of the encoder. We don't need an encoder because whenever you are giving a prompt you are getting a lot of data on that, so we only need a decoder in this case. And what happens in the case of BERT? The BERT only needs the encoder. because when you are giving an input, it will try to encode the input and then give you the results. So it is creating a language model, it is training a language model to give you the outputs, to give you the desired results only by encoding the input. So transformers have both encoders and decoders. GPT-2 has only the decoder, and BERT has only the encoder. That is what the difference between these three types of models. So never get confused, like GPT says, a generative pre-trained model. So this is not this is a transformer without a encoder. BERT is a transformer without a decoder, and transformer is the one which contains both encoder and the decoder side. Okay, so that is what it says. GPT-2 will have only a series of decoders, BERT will have only a series of encoders. Okay, and the full form for BERT also contains the encoder, bidirectional encoder representation of transformers. So it has only the encoder of the transformer. So this is the way how we have developed from 2018 till date, and we are increasing the number of the parameters on which the model is getting trained. GPT-2 small had only 117 million parameters. GPT-2 medium had 345 million parameters, then 762 million parameters in GPT-2 large. And in GPT-2 extra large has 1542 million parameters. The more the parameters, the better the system and the better the memory that it requires for you to run that. So Colab, OpenAI, all these have the option of you to run on these systems, but definitely they are paid. So if you want to try GPT-2 extra large, you will have to pay for its APK, or you have to pay for its key to try it out. Some of the limits are given to you when you just try to open OpenAI for the very first time. So some limit would be given to you to try that out, but as and when the day proceeds, it will go on to zero, and you will have to buy new stakes to execute your model on these, execute your code on these models. Next come to diffusion models. Now, what happens in the case of diffusion models? These are the advanced machine learning algorithms which are trying to actually add noise to the images. So it keeps on adding the noise to the images until and unless the image becomes absolutely unidentifiable. Then you perform certain operations on the image and get a new image altogether. This is basically text to image. Diffusion models is used for text to image. I gave a text and it gave an image for that text. So if I just search for noisy images, this is a noisy image. This is a noisy image. So it is adding some noise to, now this is Elena image, which is the most standard image in image processing. And we are adding noise to it. Noise means some disturbance in the image, because of which you will not be able to identify the image. So we keep on adding the noise to such an extent so that the image becomes non-identifiable. Then you perform some operation, and then you try to come up with the original image. And in this case, we are working in the latent space. We do not work in the multidimensional space, but we work it on a latent space, because latent space actually deals with the compressed image. It requires less computing powers. It requires less computing powers as compared to the vector dimensional space. So stable diffusion, text to image technology, that is, we are trying to have an image out of the text, very similar to what we have done in DALI 3, based on latent diffusion models coupled to text input. So what it does is it tries to do the embedding of the text in the latent space. Again, it is out of the imagination to imagine the latent space. And as of now, what you can think of is, as we cannot imagine the multidimensional space, we cannot imagine the latent space also. The only thing is we try to compress the data and then give a representation to it in the latent space. Translation of text cues. Sorry, I'm really sorry about my cough. Markov chains wandering around a latent space, so we keep on adding the noise to it, denoise and renoise the images, and then we leverage some in-painting techniques to fill in the gap. So let me show you. This is a timeline basically. So in 2015, they came with the diffusion model related to the physics part, the thermodynamics, and and then for 5 years nothing happened. And in June 2020, they said, okay, why not use the physics diffusion model in computer science? If I ask you what is a diffusion model in physics, so the very standard example that comes in is you open a bottle of scent and the perfume of the smell of that fills in the entire room. That is diffusion. Similar to that, what we are doing is we are adding a noise to the image, which is filling the complete image. Correct? So we came up with different models, and it was in August 22 that we came up with this stable diffusion model using the latent space. And why I particularly chose this topic for this discussion today is because since it is a new topic which has been just released in August 2022, not much of the work has been done in this field. And this has a lot of open research areas in which you or your students can work on. Like one of my students is working on the diffusion models, wherein he is trying to have his own encoder. We said that the transformer models have encoder and the decoders. So he's trying to make his own encoder so that he is able to convert the input text into some form which is able to give you a very, very different image, which is more in resolution and the one which is not available anywhere throughout the internet. Correct? So this is this is a topic that you can really work on, and it doesn't have much research on this topic. I think I'll maximum be able to take it for another 10 minutes. So the process is it compresses it down to a smaller latent representation. I hope I'm audible and visible. Yes. Prefers diffusion process. Great, Shweta ma'am. Yep. So the encoder compresses it down into a smaller latent representation, and this latent code actually captures the important features. Very similar to what needs to be captured in order to understand the semantics of the image, video, or the text. ठीक है ना? The meaning of it. The diffusion process is applied to the latent code rather than directly to the pixels, and this is the most important part, in which we apply the diffusion process not to the pixels, because if we do that, then we will not be able to get a new image when we try to restore the image. So we apply the diffusion process on the latent code, which makes it easier for us to apply because this is a compressed code. And secondly, the new image that we get is very different from the original one, but has some relationship with the original. I'll show you an example also. And in the last decoder, we'll try to get the new image, which is in a better resolution. And the final image will have a better and a high resolution. So this is an example of this. The first process of data pre-processing is the same, which is there throughout all the models. And ML, you have already gone through. So data pre-processing, and trust me, 90% of your efforts goes in data pre-processing. Cleaning of the data, processing of the data, EDA, data visualization, etc., etc. Interpreting the data, or trying to come out with the patterns in the data, the trends in the data. That is all data pre-processing. Once that is done, we are adding uh, Markov chain starts from the original text at t is equal to 0, and then we keep on adding the noise with a sample of epsilon. So t is equal to 0, we had the original image. 100, 200, 300, and by the time we come to 999, the image is absolutely gone. We have kept the important aspects of the image. In this case, we are talking about the colors of the image. The colors of the image will remain intact, and then we'll get a new image, absolutely new image, which has similar colors to that of the house, but a new image, absolutely different image. It's of a dog. We started with an image of a house, and at the end, we are getting an image of a dog. Correct? So at each and every step, we are adding noise. And in the reverse diffusion process, at each and every step, we are trying to reduce the noise, remove the noise in each t is equal to zero part, in order to get a new image which is flexible enough, of a higher resolution, but the new image cannot be absolutely different from the input image. So that is why we keep the important features intact. I'm really sorry, I won't be able to continue to till 3:30.
No problem,
So of
man.
course,
You can wind up as you wish.
ठीक है, thank you so much, ma'am. I'm really sorry. I'm really feeling bad.
No, no. We understand it, man.
Of course, it is computationally efficient because we are working in the latent space, which is a compressed image. So we don't need huge GPUs to run it. As I mentioned, ki you won't be able to train the GPT model in your own computers. That's not possible. You will have to take the help of multiple GPUs to do it. ठीक है ना? Because in this case, we are working on the latent code and not on the pixel level. If we would have been working on the pixel level, then we would have used hundreds of GPUs. But since we are working on the latent code, we don't need that much of computation power. But of course, to quite more than the deep learning models. The final image that you get is of higher resolution. Flexible conditioning, it is saying because the noise that you are adding at each and every step is dependent on your application. What do you want? As your application requirements are, you can add in the noise and then get the final image at the end after denoising it. So you have that flexibility in yourself when you are working on the latent code. And detail preservation, as I mentioned, it is preserving the important features, so that the new image that you get in at the last is not absolutely different, but it has some features of the input. So it is being used at various applications, NLP, computer vision. In actually computer vision, it has revolutionized the things. Super resolution image generation is that's what we are talking about nowadays. That is, we want a better resolution image generated from the fly, not from the internet, and we can add in as much as details as I want. If you remember, some days back there was a news in which people are able to create songs in the voice of KK. KK died long back, but we are able to create the songs in the voice of KK. This is nothing but we are creating. This is nothing but generative AI. Then there was also one video which was in rounds in which Modi ji is singing "Utte Sabke Kadam" or some other song. So what is this? Actually, of course, Modi ji didn't sing that song, but with the help of generative AI, we are able to generate the same voice of the person, even if he is dead or alive, and create sounds, create voice. ठीक है ना? So this has actually revolutionized a lot of things, but yes, security is a major concern when we talk about generation of the images. And there was one scam in which Rashmika Madhana's image was modified. Some other image was there, and then we superimposed her image on that. So yes, privacy security is very very important when we talk about Gen AI, and that is why people have started talking about ethical AI. That is, we should not forget our ethics whenever we are using generative AI, because it is generating anything. Correct? So we should not forget our ethics when we do this. Okay. So that's the end, and this is my email ID. I'm so sorry that I'll have to stop a little earlier, but I'm definitely going to take the questions. So just let me know if you have any questions. And email ID was there on my slides also, and I'm putting it here again. So if you want to ask any questions, or if you have any doubts, you can shoot a mail to me.
Madam, email ID.
Yeah, I have already set it on the chat box.
Okay, ma. Thank you.
Any doubts, any questions? I would love to take them.
What are the applications in this year technology techniques in food processing? Is it possible to say something? Thank you.
Food processing.
Right, ma'am.
Food processing, in what respects?
Some quality analysis or some uh, like uh, like the safety or security or something like that. Quality analysis.
Yes, of course we can do that. But why do we want to go for generative AI in that case? We have a lot of deep learning models for food
Okay.
security and food safety.
Okay.
So we can employ the deep learning models on that. Generative AI is
Right.
actually used in those cases when the data is very, very huge. And secondly, you have
Okay.
to come up with something new just for
Right.
the analysis, just for the predictions. We generally don't go for generative AI. We go for deep learning and the machine learning models. But when
Okay.
we want to come up with something new which was not already there,
Okay.
a very, very advanced form, then we go for generative AI.
Thank you.
Ma'am, there's a small question from my side. I'm using both GANs and these, and diffusion models just came recently, and we are using them. We are testing them for different image applications, image translation. But what do you think? What is your opinion? It has diffusion models completely replaced GANs, or GANs are still in place? Because I see even in diffusion models, they are now coming up with hybrid models where they're using GANs and diffusion models for certain applications.
GANs are not being used with a ma'am nowadays at all, because GANs didn't give accuracies even when it was released in 2014. So as I mentioned, one of my student worked in 2016 on GANs, adversarial networks, and what he was actually doing was
But
figuring
if
out
you
the
look at the research that is taking place in diffusion models, what one of my students is working in this area, where we are not exactly using directly diffusion models, but we had been seeing what are the advancements. So they are using now proposing hybrid diffusion models where they are using concepts of progressive GANs and cycle GANs, because diffusion model as such for image generation is good, but for unpaired image translation and other tasks, they cannot be used in a naive manner. They need to
yes, 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 because they give best results with images only, not with
okay.
text. With text, they are
Yes.
not very good. If you want to go for a text generation, so diffusion models are not giving you very good results. But
Even
if
for
you are going
image,
for
they are using hybrid models where they're
for
using
image generation,
concepts
of
of
course,
GANs
they are using.
plus diffusion.
Yeah, for image generation, diffusion models are giving very good results. If you are going for an hybrid, it will give you even better results in that case. But not plain GANs, ma'am. Plain GANs are not being used. You can use the different versions of GANs with diffusion
Yes,
models. Like you said,
exactly.
no?
Different versions of
Yes,
GANs. Exactly. Cycle
yes,
GANs and so.
yes. That we can definitely use to have. And that's what we did in machine learning also. No, we came up with ensemble learning, which was the combination of many machine learning algorithms. The same thing
Progressive
goes here,
GANs
that
and
we are
so
doing
are also. Progressive GANs are being used with these models and so.
correct, correct, correct. We don't use simple GANs nowadays. We always go
Oh,
for the different versions of GANs with diffusion models.
okay, okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more
Anyone
questions?
else? Any-
Thank you, ma'am. While suffering and cold, you deliver a nice lecture and very meaningful lecture for us. Thank you so much, ma'am, for delivering such insightful
I'm
and
so
informative
sorry.
session.
So sorry, श्वेता मैम ने पहली बार बोला और उसी बार में मैं पूरा नहीं कर पाई. I'm really sorry, but yes, to have more such sessions in the future. Thank you.
We truly appreciate the time and effort you took to prepare this lecture, ma'am. And I'm sure our audience has gained a lot of from this session. It has been a privilege to have with us today. Once again, thank you for your contribution, and we look forward to future opportunity to learn from you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'll share the slides with Shweta ma'am, and that can be shared with the participants. Thank you so much. Shall I leave now? Okay. Bye bye. Take care.